The very first time I went to church, it was October and I was 8. From then on, I have always liked church, except for sitting still. The cinnamon rolls the first Sunday of every month, singing, getting dressed up, and most of all the stories, even if I didn't always understand the meaning. One of my favorite Bible stories is about Samson. He was deceived, hurt, blinded, and stripped of his blessing from God, and made prisoner to his enemy. Yet he overcame everything with a prayer answered from God. So in his last act of life, he delivered his people from the Philippines. For nothing will be impossible with God. Luke 1:37. I feel that his story is somewhat similar to my struggles and how I overcame them. Over the years, I have had a lot of challenges and many times I have wanted to give up. But as my faith in God has grown, I have learned to have more faith in myself. A big roadblock I overcame was when I missed a lot of school in 1st and 2nd grade, causing me to fall behind in many classes and barely passing. Missing all that school affected me a lot in my reading. By the time I started 3rd grade, I was reading at a 1st grade level. With the help of teachers, tutoring, and parents, I slowly progressed. The older I got, the more books I read for fun than out of necessity. Going from way behind in my reading, I now read books advanced for my age. Now I read books in a couple of days, and when I'm done reading all those, I resort to reading books from my younger sisters. Much hard work and the faith in God has given me to believe myself, led me to something I enjoy doing in my free time, as well as belief I can achieve whatever I work for. I have a goal to become a dentist, which my parents thought odd because I have 8 cavities and a couple root canals, which would drive some people away from a bad experience. But it inspired me to help people who had similar problems. I have faith that God will help me with all the steps it takes because I have no doubt that I can become anything I want to. Another thing I like to do is art. For as long as I can remember, I have loved art, and over time I improved and gotten better at it. I would make drawings to show how I was feeling, especially when I felt too nervous or scared to talk. Art is a soothing activity that clears my mind and makes my chest feel lighter. Art is a talent I'm sure God has blessed me with. I made a painting in school of my vision of God holding the world. At first, I was worried about telling my classmates and teacher about what the meaning was, but they thought it was very cool. Their reaction made me feel comfortable and gave me more faith about telling people what I believe in. The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. Proverbs 16:9. When I was 12, I went to a place to get some extra help. Sometimes when I came home to visit, I would see my grandpa Don. Every time he told me he prayed for me every day. My grandma Ellis and my grandpa Don have the strongest faith and kindest hearts of anyone I know, accepting me and my sisters into the family right away with unconditional love and lots of spoiling. Just as my grandparents moved to a smaller, easier place to manage than a big house, my grandpa started having more frequent visits to the hospital. March 13th of last year, my grandpa died of leukemia, and sadly, I was not able to see him while he was alive in the hospital. I was very sad, but I noticed some changes in me. I prayed more for other people and asked for forgiveness more often than when he was alive. I started to realize that I too could become a person of strong faith. Becoming a member of the church is only the beginning of how I will contribute to the church in our community. I love helping at the food shelf and Humane Society. Also, mission trips are on my to-do list. I would like to achieve things for the good of God. Truly, I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me. Matthew 25:40.